Hi, it's Steph, and we're at Lowe's, and they have a whole new shipment of trees, shrubs, evergreens, perennials, and annuals. So let's go ahead and take a look at the May inventory at Lowe's. Check out the beautiful color on this rhododendron. This is the Monrovia Landmark Rhododendron. It is this gorgeous fuchsia pink. It likes part sun, spring blooms, great for a woodland garden. And these are $46.98. It looks to be about a 2-gallon. But these blooms really catch your eye. And in a shady spot or in woodland setting, look at that beautiful bright spot. Gorgeous. And this variety of rhododendron has a smaller leaf than some of the traditional larger leaf ones, and they're also a bit darker. And look at this beauty, a peony. These are absolutely gorgeous. Now, these are a variety of Ito peony, and this is the Julia Rose. I actually have this one in my garden. It's a really beautiful pink with hints of apricot salmon and even a little bit of yellow. And they like full and partial sun. Now, the Ito peonies are a little bit sturdier than, say, the herbaceous peonies. They are a cross between an herbaceous peony and a tree peony, so they require a little less staking. So this one here says that it's great for cut flowers. They're also usually very fragrant, some varieties more than others. Has showy blooms. This is $119 for this 3.58 gallon. It's a pretty good size. And in general, the Ito peonies are a little bit more than the herbaceous type in terms of cost, but it is stunning. There's a really pretty foliage color on this spirea. This is a Monrovia spirea called Butterscotch Baby Spirea. Likes full sun, stays compact. So let's see what size it gets. Dry blooms in summer, and it is hardy in zones 4 through 9 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And it gets only 18 inches in height by 24 inches in width. So nice and compact. This is great to tuck into any size landscape. And spireas are wonderful because they go through a lot of color changes. They leaf out in early spring, and they stay with their foliage, at least in my experience, the varieties that I have, until your first hard frost. And they get these beautiful clusters of blooms in mid to late spring. It's just a really great shrub. And this one here is $39.98 by Monrovia. Some viburnums, and these are by First Editions, and viburnums have such beautiful leaves. Look at that serrated pattern on them. They also have fall color, a lot of them turning red in the fall. This is the opening day viburnum, and the opening day has these really large softball size blooms. Now, a lot of people will confuse the viburnums with hydrangeas because they're very similar looking, only that the viburnums will bloom in earlier spring, where hydrangeas will typically bloom later and in the summer. So this one here likes full sun to part shade. It has dark green foliage, medium water needs, hardy in zones 5 through 8, and it gets to be 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. And this shrub here is a 2-gallon for $27.98. A pretty lilac that's about to burst into bloom. These are so fragrant and such beautiful spring shrubs. This variety here is the Lilac Flower Festa Purple. And it is, let's see how big it gets. It says it's reblooming. It's a dwarf size, highly fragrant, likes full sun to part shade, and it gets 4x4, zones 3 through 7. That is a great size for lilac. Some of the older varieties get really large, so having the option to have a dwarf size allows many different gardeners to be able to fit these into their landscape. When this is in full bloom, cutting some of these stems and bringing them in the house is just such a wonderful fragrance of spring. And there is a golden beauty over here that just caught my eye. Look at these beautiful evergreens. Stunning. These are by Monrovia, and they are Golden Duke Eastern Hemlock. I have the Golden Duchess, and it has a very similar shape, but the Duchess stays a bit shorter and grows more horizontally. Let's see what the specs read on this one. My goodness, isn't it beautiful? I love the weeping shape, the color, all of it. This is, like we said, the Golden Duke Eastern Hemlock. It likes full and part sun. It's a Monrovia exclusive, dramatic accent, I would say. It caught my eye from across the way. $99. And it gets to be 3 feet wide by 10 feet high. A superb new evergreen with glowing foliage on graceful, upright, pyramidal, arching branches. Beautiful. Improved sun tolerance. It likes part to full sun. And it says that it is hardy in USDA growing zones 4 through 8, hardy down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And what a great size. Anyone can tuck this into their garden. A bright yellow shrub like this will look absolutely stunning. And 3 by 10, what a good size. Some variegated English holly, another Monrovia shrub. All of the eye-catching things seem to be by Monrovia today. Full sun, part sun, winter berries, dramatic accent, $74 for these. And it gets to be 12 feet in width and 20 feet in height. Hardy in zones 6 through 9, it looks like, and down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Moderate grower. Really pretty coloring. And some beautiful Japanese maples, all leafed out for the season in this really vibrant red. These look really beautiful as a specimen tree in a front landscape. So let's see the varieties that they have here available. So this one is just labeled as a lace leaf Japanese maple because of the foliage shape. You can see here, this is what they consider a lace leaf. Now, the variety is unspecified. I would say, if I had to guess based on my experience, this would be like a Tamakiyama perhaps. Very similar appearance. These are 2.33 gallons for $79.98, and they like part sun, 3 to 6 hours. Morning sun is best. Afternoon sun can be a little bit harsher and can sometimes cause the leaves to scorch, especially if it's a newer tree. It gets to be 10 to 15 feet in height, needs 12-foot spacing. It is hardy down to a zone 5. And this beauty is a blood good Japanese maple. This is the larger variety that you typically see in people's front landscape. And it has these really beautiful large red leaves. Look at that. It's stunning. So this one gets a little bit bigger, but still considered a medium-sized tree. Blood good Japanese maple, full partial sun, eye-catching accent. And this one gets to be 15 feet in width, 20 feet in height, and these are $169. Hardy down to a zone 5 and negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Gorgeous. They have some birches, and these are the clump birches that have multiple trunks. And these look really pretty with the multiple trunks. But a couple of great things about birches. I actually planted one in my garden a couple of years ago because we had an area that stood really wet. And river birches can deal with moist soil. So they do really well in that type of planting situation. They also have winter interest with really beautiful peeling bark. So a couple of great attributes with the birches. So this one, the clump river birch, likes full sun. This is $39.98, a feature landscape focal point. It gets to be 40 to 60 feet in height and 40 feet wide, and it is hardy down to a zone 3 or negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. It also has really pretty serrated foliage. And my birch happens to turn yellow in the fall. So you get fall interest as well. They also have a birch called a white-barked Himalayan, and this one also likes full sun, feature landscape focal point, $44.98. This one's a little more compact at 25 feet in height and 25 feet in width. Hardy down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 5. Here's another really pretty evergreen, and this is a juniper. This is called the Hollywood juniper, and it likes full sun, and you can see there it has a really interesting shape. This would make a really great standalone kind of feature or specimen tree in the landscape. It says you can use it for screening if you planted a grouping of them. Has an upright growth habit. It gets to be 15 feet in height, 10 feet in width. It is hardy down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 5. And it looks like it is deer resistant, which is really great. I deal with lots of deer in my garden. These are, looks like a 5-gallon, 4.5-gallon container for $89.98. Now, junipers need pretty consistent moisture when they're newly planted until they establish. Then they can take a little bit of drought. Some lilies. I actually have this one planted in my garden. This is an Asiatic lily called Tiny Diamond. It's a really beautiful pink variety. Now, lilies are not deer resistant. I do have to spray these with invisible fence deer and rabbit if I want to keep the buds intact until they bloom for me. But look how pretty these are. The Tiny Diamond Asiatic Lily by Monrovia likes full sun or part sun. It is perennial, so it returns every year. These are $10.98. They have extreme cold hardiness. Mine in my zone 6 are actually already poking out of the ground. All of the new foliage has emerged. It likes 6+ hours of direct sun, semi-moist soil, and they get to be 12 to 14 inches in height and 10 to 12 inches in width. Bloom in summer and hardy down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So many buds on these. With Mother's Day coming up, these would make a really great gift. These are calla lilies in these decorative planters. And if you're going to give a mom a plant for Mother's Day or flowers, give them one with roots so they can plant them in their garden and think of you each year on Mother's Day when it blooms for them. So this is a calla lily, and here in my zone, they are considered an annual. However, some people have had them perennialize or come back year after year if they plant them in a microclimate, and that is in an area where it stays relatively warm, usually on the south side of a house or against a foundation or interior walls. That will usually stay warmer. So this is a part sun tropical plant, 1998 for these. And they are hardy down to a zone 9, so 30 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and they get to be 24 to 36 inches in height and 12 inches in width. And a beautiful blue spruce. Let me tell you a quick story about a beautiful baby blue spruce just like this. I planted one in my landscape in 2013, and it was supposed to be baby, or what I thought baby meant was that it was dwarf and that it wouldn't get too big. Well, I made a rookie move and I planted it too close to my house, and it is ginormous. It's actually taller than my house now and in a really not great spot, so it will have to get taken out at some point. But look at this absolute beauty. So if you plant one of these, give it some space, but it is stunning in the landscape. This beautiful blue color. The birds absolutely love it. Every spring I have birds making nests in this tree, and it's just really eye-catching. It needs full sun for it to have this most beautiful blue color. This is called the Spruce Baby Blue. It's a variety of Colorado blue spruce. These are $39.98 in this 1.71 gallon. And look at the size here. It says that it gets to be average 15-foot height, 8-foot width. That is what I thought mine would be. And it is probably about, I would say 10 feet wide and about 15 feet high at this point. So proceed with caution with one of these. Give them space. Gorgeous trees and very hardy, down to a zone 3 or negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit and deer resistant. Some endless summer hydrangeas, and this variety is the Bloomstruck. Now, endless summer hydrangeas is the typical macrophylla, mophead, or big leaf hydrangeas. This variety is called the Bloomstruck. And what's great about the endless summer line is that they bloom on old wood and new wood, where some of the older varieties would only bloom on old wood. So that made it a little bit tricky to prune your hydrangeas without risking taking off any of that year's blooms. Now, this variety of hydrangea also, it depends on whether or not your soil is acidic or alkaline as to what color they will be. If you have a more acidic soil, they're going to be more blue. And if you have a more alkaline soil, they're going to be more pink or purple. So the Bloomstruck here likes morning sun or part shade. It gets to be 3 to 4 feet in height and 4 to 5 feet in width. It is hardy down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 4. And you can see here the color chart that the flower color will vary based on your soil. This one actually has some light blue blooms coming through. Really pretty. These are pretty large container, 3 gallon for $37.98. And some really pretty annuals. Look at this. These are the Sunbelievable Brown-Eyed Susan Sunflower. Now, these are annuals, so they won't come back year after year, but they bloom for a really long time. So right now, you'd pick this up at the garden center, and it's going to bloom for you through the fall. You just want to regularly deadhead it. And what that means is once the bloom is spent or it's done, you're going to follow the stem down, cut it off, and that will keep your plant producing more blooms. It is the Sunbelievable Brown-Eyed Girl Sunflower. It likes full sun. It's an annual, and these are $14.98. 6+ hours of direct sun. They get to be 32 inches in height and 40 inches in width, and they bloom summer and fall. But once you get your first frost, these will be done, but you can enjoy them all summer long. Some cordyline. I really like using this in the center of my annual arrangements to give it some height, and I really like this contrasting color this dark foliage provides. So the red star cordyline in these 1 quart containers for $5.98. Not a bad price for a centerpiece for your seasonal containers. Some pelargoniums or the seed geraniums, $2.68. And they have them in red and coral, really pretty colors. The foliage on these is stunning as well. They also have some spike Dracena for $3.58 and some of the climbing periwinkle vine. If you want to start working on your containers, you can go ahead and do that. Just keep an eye on the forecast and make sure that there aren't any frosts coming, because if there are, you might want to just, bring them into the garage or the basement for the night. And the proven winners, Super Bells and Calabricoa and Petunias have shown up. So let's take a look. So they have this one here, which is the Super Bells Blue Moon Punch Calabricoa for $5.98. That is a really gorgeous purple. And this one I've liked for a really long time. It's the Picasso. Has that fuchsia pink in the center with the green tips. Just a really pretty one. Super Petunia Picasso in Purple Petunia, $5.98. Now these get really large, so you might be tempted to get a couple for a container, but just one of these over the season with regular fertilizing can pretty much fill a 12-inch container. There's some more right here. And then there is this really pretty white one. Now this petunia right here with those Dracaena spikes in the center, how pretty would this petunia look with that dark colored Dracaena spike with this and maybe something like a Dichondra Silver Falls draping down the front? So pretty. This is the Super Bells Over Easy Calibrachoa, and it does look like an egg, doesn't it? Really pretty. These are, again, $5.98 for this container, 1.5 pint. Some Diamond Frost Euphorbia. This has a really ethereal look in a container. It's just really whimsical and dainty, but provides a lot of interest. And this one here gets to be 12 to 18 inches in height, $5.98, and it likes full to part sun. And some Gerbera daisies. Look how cute these are. So pretty. These are the smaller containers for $5.98, but they also have some larger arrangements. They have these larger ones here for $22.98, and they're in a decorative planter. And Gerbera daisies are also annuals, so they will only bloom for you this season, but really pretty. They have colors of orange and yellow and red and even pinks. That one's really pretty. And some dahlias, and these are the short stature dahlias, which is great because they won't require any staking. They'll bloom for you all season long. You just have to deadhead them regularly, so when the bloom is done you would cut it off and it'll keep producing more blooms for you. They come in this decorative whiskey barrel planter for $16.98. Really pretty shade of pink. And the ready fill containers are in store. And these are great because you don't have to worry about arranging the plants yourself. You just pick them up and you put them in your planter and they are good to go. And these look like they're a combination of petunias with a Dracaena spike in the center and some verbena. And these are, let's see, they're a large container and it tells you right there what size planter it would fit in. So this one here fits a 13.3 decorative planter. And these are $21.98. Ready fill makes gardening easy. And check out these beautiful planters by Proven Winners. Now, this is their container line, and it's called Container Style. And what they do is they have plant recipes that happen to look really beautiful and complementary to each other in a container arrangement. This one here has a type of double impatient, some Diamond Frost Euphorbia, a Dracaena spike in the center, as well as some polka dot plant. And it is really stunning. Look at that. You can even use these as inspiration for your own planters. This one here comes in a decorative pot, and it's called Container Style Gloria Rose for $46.98. And some Proven Winners butterfly bushes. Now these are dwarf butterfly bushes. In general, butterfly bushes can get pretty large, but these are more compact. The Pugster line. And this one here is called Pugster Pinker. So it looks like it has a pink bloom. Now I've grown these in my garden before, and they are very fragrant. I feel that the blooms almost smell like lilac blooms. At least they did to me. But mine died, and I'll tell you why. I had them in soil that was too moist. And butterfly bushes need full sun in a very well-draining soil that almost leans dry. They do not like a lot of moisture. And so this one here is the Pugster. Let's see, it likes sun. It is hardy in USDA growing zones 5 through 9 or down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And it gets to be 2 feet tall and 2.5 feet wide. So it is a petite shrub. So if you're looking for a butterfly bush that stays compact, the Pugster by Proven Winners would be a good choice. And this is a 2-gallon container for $27.98. And some beautiful foxgloves. These are a quintessential cottage garden flower. They're so stately with these really tall spikes of blooms that are bell-shaped, and the pollinators absolutely love them. But something to note is that they are very toxic. So if you have children or pets and you plant these in your garden, I would be very careful. They're poisonous if consumed, and they actually use this particular plant to make digitalis. This is called digitalis, and they use it to make digoxin, which is a heart medication. So this here is Camelot Rose Foxglove. It blooms in spring and summer. These are $8.98. They like full sun, and they are hardy down to zone 4 or negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. They get to be 36 to 48 inches in height, and they need 18 to 24 inch spacing. The deer do not touch them. I think deer know when things are toxic, so they steer away from them. But the other thing to note about these is that they're not always perennial. So the Camelot is usually more perennial than some of the other varieties, but these are what they consider biennial. So when you purchase them here at the garden center, they are already blooming. So they may not come back next year because these are second year plants. With biennials, they will put on or grow their foliage and their root system in year one, and they will send up their bloom stalks in year two. So buying these and planting them in your garden to enjoy this season is great, with low expectations of them returning next year. If they do return, it is a bonus. And some wonderful varieties of phlox by proven winners. Now, something to note about phlox is that you need to give them proper spacing so that they have ample airflow, because phlox is really prone to something called powdery mildew. But this variety is been bred to be stronger against powdery mildew or more resistant. So this variety here is the Proven Winners Opening Act Pinka Dot Phlox. It likes full sun. It is a perennial, $12.98 for these. And it gets to be a medium height at 22 to 26 inches and needs 30-inch spacing. And it is hardy in zones of 4 through 8 or down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And it likes full sun. So they have two varieties here. They have this light purple, kind of lavender with a pink eye. And then they also have this variety that is more pink, and it is called the Opening Act Ultra Pink, also full sun, perennial, and similar growing specs. 22 to 28 inches in height, minimum 32-inch spacing, hardy in zones 4 through 8. So again, I would definitely pay attention to the spacing requirements for phlox to give them proper airflow. Really beautiful. If you're looking for ground covers to plant in your garden so that over time you need less mulch, look at this beautiful one. This is a type of bugleweed or ajuga, and it is called Caplin's Giant Ajuga, and it is $4.48 for this small container here. It likes part sun, and it is a ground cover, and these send up spikes of blue flowers in spring. They're really beautiful. Look at these shiny leaves. So pretty. I have like 3 varieties of ajuga in my garden. I have chocolate chip, I have a burgundy glow, and I have one other that isn't coming to mind at the time. It might be black scallop, but just really pretty. I love ajuga. Here's another really great one, and this is the Angelina sedum. I also have this one, and it has a really beautiful, vibrant color. Because this one is a sedum, it can take more drought. It actually prefers soil that is well draining and drier, and it likes full sun for it to keep this most vibrant yellow color. It gets really yellow like this in spring and summer, and then it gets bronzy, but evergreen for me in my zone 6. So over the winter, it has an orangey bronze color, just a really great one too. So these are a great way to retain your soil, keep your roots of your plants moist, and to over time have them spread and purchase less mulch. And some heucheras, which are a part shade plant. And this variety is gorgeous. I have it in my garden. This is the caramel coral bell or heuchera. And this one can take a bit more sun than some of the other varieties. It has so many gorgeous color variations, and it is just a rock star in my garden. I've divided it a few times. I purchased one of these really large planters. I divided it into 3, and each one is already put on quite a bit of size. So it says that it likes shade, but I have mine, I would say, in part shade, and it does really well. And look at all of these colors. So pretty. It's a mounding perennial, comes back year after year, spring and summer. Now, coral bells or heucheras do bloom. They just send up these little bloom spikes that look almost like baby's breath, but you grow them mostly for the different color foliage, because all of the heucheras come in so many different colors that you can offer so much color in a shade garden just through the foliage. So here, this one, let's see how big it gets. They get to be 18 to 24 inches in width. They need 18 to 24-inch spacing. They are hardy down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 4. And again, these are $19.98. So a little bit higher price, but you're getting a larger container. And a lot of times you can divide them right out of the container. You just want to keep the divisions well watered and shaded until they start establishing a root system. And here's an example of what I mean by having so much color interest in a shade garden just by the use of foliage. Here you have that dark heuchera, this red one, and the caramel. So pretty together. The red variety is called Pinot Gris Coral Bell Heuchera. They're also $19.98, spring and summer for bloom season. And I think these get a little bit shorter than the caramel. Yeah, these are average height 8 to 12 inches and 12 to 14-inch width. And they are hardy down to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit or a zone 4. It does say that they're deer resistant. I don't think they're that the deer eat them in my garden, but something does. It might be bunnies. But I really love the foliage on heuchera. When I do these tours, I'm often asked how I keep deer and rabbits away from my plants, specifically deer, because I deal with a lot of deer. And this works great. So this is what I like to use. I buy these large containers here. You just shake them and then you spray your plants. I usually do it every 7 to 10 days or about once a week. But if it rains, I do it again because it can wash off. But I find that it works really well. It's really stinky, has a very pungent smell, but it's effective. This is the Liquid Fence Deer and Rabbit Repellent. And another really beautiful part shade plant that I think can take a lot more sun than it says, bleeding hearts. I have a friend who has theirs in full sun. It's actually a neighbor, and theirs is huge with a ton of blooms. And I have mine in a woodland setting in part sun, and mine doesn't have nearly as many blooms. But look at these really beautiful blooms. They look like a heart that is bleeding, hence the name Bleeding Heart. Even their foliage is really pretty. And I even love the growth habit of the plant because it almost looks like the stems kind of arch, make it really interesting. Here are some smaller blooms that are still closed up, and you can see that beautiful heart shape. These are a larger container. They look close to a 2-gallon of bleeding hearts, and they are $15.98. They like shade, I would say part sun as well. And they're hardy down to a zone 3, negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and they get to be 24 to 36 inches in height and 15 to 24 inch width. Something else I think about these is that sometimes when people buy perennials, the recommendation is to buy multiples, right? So they look more aesthetically pleasing if you plant groups of 3, 5, 7, and so forth, odd numbers. But because this one gets to be 24 to 32 or 36 inches in width, I feel like this is almost like a specimen perennial. You can plant this in the center with some other perennials around it, and I think that it would be really pretty as a standalone plant. Check out these beautiful ferns. These are the Proven Winners Crested Fern, and they almost have like a contorted shape to them, and they are very similar looking to the Japanese painted fern with these really gorgeous colors. Now, I have these planted. I have the Japanese painted fern in my garden, and I will tell you that in more shade, they have a more beautiful coloring. If I have them in more sun, they start to look like this. They start to kind of burn up a little bit and get crispy on the ends. So these certainly benefit from a good deal of shade, but they are stunning. Look at that. The Proven Winners Crested Surf is $12.98 for this size container, which is 2.5 quart. It is a perennial that likes part shade to shade. And let's see how big it gets. 20 to 22 inch height, and it is 28 inch spacing. And it is hardy in zones 3 through 8 or down to negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit, grown for its attractive foliage. I just spoke to my friend Doreen, and she filled me in and told me that all of these gray and green planters, let's see what size they are to be sure that we have the right size here. 1.5 gallons in these light gray, and I'll show you the green pots. So there are petunias, there are begonias, there's some coleus. They're all going to be on sale 2 for $12 starting tomorrow, May 2nd. So if you want to grab some things this weekend, it might be a good time. Here are the other containers that are on sale. These green hangers here, they have coleus, and I'll show you what else. There's some begonias, some impatiens. So really great price on these. So if you haven't done any shopping for your seasonal containers yet, what a great time to buy. So pretty. Look at these beautiful begonias. So they have the dark leafed begonia with a white bloom. And they also have a couple of other colors. So this one's white. Here are some of the begonias with the green foliage. And I just love how large and shiny this foliage is. So pretty. Now, these are part shade. So you can see here, begonias, 3 to 6 hours of morning sun. If you are going to have them in sun, morning sun is best because it's a little bit less strong than, say, the afternoon sun. 2 for $12 on these. And here's a really pretty one, too. This one is dark foliage with the pink. So beautiful. And then there is also this red color. And here are some impatiens. So pretty. They have pink. I just see pink and orange. I'll show you the orange one. But these are loaded with buds. So you don't have to leave these on the hanger, you know. You can definitely take them off the hanger, put them in your planters. And what a large plant you would have at 2 for $12, making these only $6 a piece. And here is the orange impatient. Such a beautiful, vibrant color. It's almost like a really bright coral orange. It's coming up more orange on camera, but has a hint of pink in person. So if you need some hanging baskets or even just planters that you can take off the hanger, great price on these. And these ferns here, these are the fern hangers. The Boston ferns are going to be 2 for $20, which is a really great price. Starting tomorrow, 5/2. They are the 1.5 gallon Boston Fern hangers that are regularly $16.98, will be 2 for $20. Such beautiful foliage. Remember, these like part shade, they like water. If you put them in too much sun, they can start burning up and dropping foliage. Some more beautiful proven winners container arrangements, container style, and this one is called Sunglasses. And the combination on this one is Supertunia Lovey Dovey, Superbells Yellow, and Supertunia Mini Vista Hot Pink. And these are part sun, 4 hours or more of direct sun. And these are $36.98 for this container. Looks like it's a 2 gallon. These are going to fill out and spill out throughout the season. You can fertilize them once a week to keep them looking beautiful. And with petunias, if they start to get a little bit leggy as they trail down, you can shear them back and then they will reflush out nice and full with lots more blooms. And that brings us to the end of the May inventory here at Lowe's. I hope that you've enjoyed checking out what my store has in stock, and I hope that you can find some of these plants near you. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.